Good morning, everyone. This is a Zoom virtual meeting of the Council of the Municipality of the County of Annapolis on Tuesday, February the 15th. I'll begin with the roll call. District 1,
Bruce Prout,
District 2,
Ryan Fuzzy Connell.
District 3 is Alan Parrish, myself. District 4,
Lloyd Bardo.
District 5,
And Longmire.
District 6,
Alec Morrison,
District 7,
David Hudson,
District 8,
Michael Gunn,
District 9,
Wendy Sheridan,
District 10,
Fred Redden.
and District 11.
Diane LeBlanc.
Thank you very much. Full attendance. Next is the disclosure of interest. Are there any items on the agenda that any councilor anticipates that they'll have to declare a conflict? I don't see any around the table. So we'll move along to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes suggested to the agenda that's been circulated? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote approving the agenda as circulated.
so moved.
Deputy Warden moved, seconded by Councillor Hudson. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Now, before we get into the body of the meeting, there are two things I would like to address. First of all, February is Black History Month. And the county often goes to Inglewood for a meeting in February, but we can't do it this year because of COVID. But I did issue a proclamation as warden with respect to African Heritage Month 2022. And if you bear with me, I'll just read it. It's not long. Whereas the municipality of the County of Annapolis recognizes the unique story of African Nova Scotians and how this story is interwoven throughout the past, present, and future of all Nova Scotians. And whereas the theme recognizes the long-standing history of people of African descent in the development of Canada and explores and examines the effects of anti-Black racism and the voice of African Nova Scotians who blazed the trail for change. And whereas the theme also aligns with the United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent, 2015 to 2024, the goal of the people of African descent, excuse me, is to strengthen global cooperation in support of people of African descent, increase awareness and passage towards presence in all aspects of society. Therefore, I, Alan Parrish, Warden, do hereby declare the month of February 2022 as African Heritage Month in the municipality of the County of Annapolis. The second thing I'd like to go over at this point is, you'll recall at the Committee of the Whole meeting last week, I indicated that there may be changes in the COVID rules that would come out yesterday, which they did. And you'll realize that there's now a procession of 3 phases where the province may ultimately remove most, if not all, of the COVID restrictions. However, as I and the clerk and the CAO read the proposed changes, none of them will affect the ability of us to meet in person until the last phase, which is predicted to be perhaps sometime in April. And the reason for that is that the 6 foot apart requirement for meetings such as ours doesn't change until possibly April. So it looks as though we're going to be meeting on Zoom for the next month or maybe 2 in any event. So having said that, I'll move back to the agenda. Item number 4.1, adoption of the minutes of the regular session of council held January 18th, 2022. Would someone move that, please?
Right here. 4.1, the minutes of the regular session of council held January 18th, 2022 be approved as circulated.
Is there a second for that?
I'll
Councilor
second
Prout,
that.
seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion's carried. Next, 4.2.
4.2, special, that the minutes of the special session of council held January 25th, 2022 be approved as circulated.
Second, Councilor LeBlanc. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. There's no business arising from the minutes. So we'll go on to the councillor comments, and I'll start with District 1.
Thank you. While reading the minutes of the January regular council meeting, I was reminded of the comments from a number of councillors who had spoken regarding our then two storms. At the present time, we've experienced a doubling of the number of severe winter storms, at least a doubling since that meeting. And again, I would like to express my thanks to the Nova Scotia Power Crews, the TIR dispatchers and plow operators, as well as the Annapolis County staff who've all worked so diligently to help keep us safe and warm throughout the last 6 weeks. And while I'm not sure that I can say that spring is just around the corner, I can safely state that daylight savings time is going to begin on March the 13th, which is less than 4 weeks away. In addition, I would like to wish everyone a meaningful Black History Month. It's a time for all of us to learn about the many contributions and accomplishments of our African Nova Scotian communities and individuals who have made up such an important part of our shared cultural history, as well as those who are continuing to do so. So here's to Black History Month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Prout. District 2.
Yes, I'd like to echo Councillor Sprout's comments about the Black History Month or African History Month. Growing up, I played a lot of sports, and I played a lot of sports with people of African heritage and people that grew up and was important to me as friends in the African community. So, and I've been reading the comments on the website about the history of the individuals that resided in our county and went on with showing their talents and their way of life. So I want to echo that. And other than that, hopefully spring's not too far away.
Thank you. Wearing my hat as councillor for District number 3, I echo the comments both of Councillor Prout and Councillor Connell, thanking the Nova Scotia Power and various internet companies in working to restore the service that most of us lost over the various storms that we've had. I can say that myself personally in Clarence, we only lost power in the first storm, but I know others in the district did lose power in the other storms that followed. And I've been looking today, the road has been plowed. They didn't seem to call for as much snow as we did receive yesterday, but we're looking at it again. So again, I want to echo the comments about Black History Month. I regret not having been able to accept the hospitality of Inglewood for our February meeting. Look forward to being able to do it in the future. District 4.
Morning. Just like to start off by saying that I'd also like to echo the comments from previous counselors on the Black History Month. It would have been nice this year to have the meeting at Inglewood again, but maybe next year COVID will be a little more kind to us and we can do it then. In the meantime, it's very important, and I'd like to, like I said, echo all previous comments. In county, there's been much to do every month with calls, correspondence, committee work, and other meetings that are all necessary to make the county whole. Talking with the constituents has been very important. Note that the countywide planning process is ramping up. Everyone in the county should be putting forth their thoughts and concerns for inclusion in the final analysis process. Proceeding in developing the plan in its totality, your input will be vital. We also are entering budget season for 22-23 and have to figure out the goals required for a successful fiscal year. The challenging times ahead will be assessing how to balance and accomplish what is required and what is desired to move this county productively into the future. I'd like to finalize by saying be happy and stay safe.
Thank you. District 5?
Good morning from District 5. Another large storm has hit us, and I myself have had quite a challenging morning, as I suspect many across our county have. I would like to as well echo what the others have shared this morning with the Black History Month, celebrating this in the month of February, and as well the gratitude towards the many groups that helped us throughout these storms. We managed to come out unscathed this time, no power loss. The 2022 theme for Black History Month is February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day, which focuses on recognizing the daily contributions that Black Canadians have made in Canada. And I just encourage everyone to take in a documentary or something. I know Facebook has a live feed on February 17th. I know everyone doesn't necessarily have Facebook, but it's one where I will definitely tune into. I was able to attend a REMO meeting this month, along with reading lots of material and trying to get myself ready for this meeting. There's lots to be faced in the upcoming months, as Councillor Bardo has spoke about the budget, and it's exciting times. So wish everyone a great February. Thank you.
Thank you. District 6?
Thank you very much. The Clementsport branch of the Royal Canadian Legion is resuming its activities with a roast beef supper this Friday, starting at 5 p.m. Elizabeth and I can vouch for the excellence of the beef and Yorkshire pudding. The architect firm of Harry Jost of Annapolis Royal has started the process of designing the Cornwallis Park-based hospice. Proponents of the project, the Atalanta Hospice Society, will be asking to present to council soon. And many of us will recall the very concrete support we provided to the hospice located in Kentville. Residents of Cornwallis Park, Clementsport, Upper Clements, and Deep Brook are anxious to continue to enhance and improve their area's outdoor recreation facilities, including year-round access to the Cornwallis Park Beach. A small committee has been set up to begin planning, and it will shortly be expanded to include more members. I would like to join my colleagues in their remarks concerning African Canadian Black History Month in February, the importance of recognizing achievements, and the importance of recognizing those folks of African descent who come and help us for months of every year. And it is important that we refer to them as productive persons who should be welcomed into our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, District 7.
Thank you very much. I would just like to echo the comments of my, or the previous counselors in respect to the Black History Month and also the work of the Nova Scotia Power, the highways, and our public works staff, for the work that they've done over the past number of weeks. The residents of District 7, I guess, along with all the residents of the county, have been very busy over the past few weeks dealing with all the snow. I don't know if we blame that snow on that rodent up in Shubenacadie called Shubenacadie Sam, but someone has to take the blame. So I'll put the blame directly on his or her shoulders. Other than that, I guess everything in District 7 has been fairly quiet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. District 8. You're muted, Deputy Warden. You're muted.
Thank you. I try to recognize the efforts of our Black communities, monthly, all the time. That's not just in February. The southernmost parts of our county will soon be losing a long-loved postmistress, as Myra Holdright announced her upcoming retirement. Spoke to many in the community of Maitland Bridge to determine their wishes, and met with members of Canada Post to discuss their options. Canada Post will be putting out an expression of interest to determine if someone in the community or nearby might be able to take on that job of the post office. The Recreation Committee of the Foresters Hall in Clementsville has continued to offer many events to keep people active and have gone to great lengths to keep their skating rink operational and available through our changing weather. Hats off to those fine folks for what they were doing. On behalf of the warden, I attended a meeting of stakeholders regarding the extended producer responsibility for printed paper and packaging. While I'll offer a more complete report at the committee of the whole, I can say it was a very interesting meeting, and I look forward to seeing the result of their effort. And again, I have heard from many people who want an end to the vaccine mandates and know this has affected many in the county, not to mention the country. Thank you.
Thank you, District number 9.
Yes, thank you. Also want to echo the remarks of the previous council in regards to the Black History Month, which is very important. And I do miss going to Inglewood. So looking forward to that hopefully next year. I just want to mention a phone call that I received a week ago in the evening. And just so you're aware, in case you do get the same phone call, at first I thought it was just a survey, but it ended up being a conference call with Premier Houston and the health minister. And a lot of people in this area from Middleton, Wilmot did have questions. I did get in the queue. My question did not get asked. It was very interesting. The first conference call that he did, he would be doing more. So I just want to put it out there. If you do get a phone call, don't hang up. Press the number to get included into the conference call. It's very interesting. And also looking forward to the restrictions gradually being lifted so we can get back to our new way of normal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, District 10.
Hello, I wanted to first off echo everybody's comments about Black History Month, but in particular, Councillor Morrison's there. I thought they really hit the nail on the head, and I wish I was so articulate. The other thing I wanted to mention was there's a block of not a very large block of forest up for harvesting out in around Trout Lake called Last Hope, and the size of it's not so much important as that it connects two much larger blocks, and it's really a pathway for animals and whatnot. And there has been a very silent occupation by a few protesters for 75 days now, I think. And through all these storms, they've stayed there and just found they're a really fine example of how this sort of thing can be done. And that's all.
Thank you very much, District 11.
Yes, good morning. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for all the people that are out there cleaning the snow. I'm sure it hasn't been great, but all our constituents are waiting for it to go away, especially after the big ice storm, because we still have remnants around that just will not melt. So hopefully we will get rid of these storms, because February has been a doozy. On the other hand, as far as waiting for our residents, they are also waiting to see a lot more restrictions being relaxed, but that's the way, because our normal has been changed different ways to be normal, but we still have to be vigilant and we still have to be taking care of ourselves and others at the same time. So hopefully we will become the new normal and try to do some normal things eventually. As far as the Black Heritage Month, it's great to see again the celebration and the importance of Black people in our community and in Canada. It is called February and Forever, and we certainly do honor the legacy of the Black Canadians in our area and across Canada, and all the different contributions that they have and will probably most likely continue to contribute to our society and the way we live. So thank you again, and hopefully next year we will be able to embrace the month and go with the Inglewood community and celebrate with them. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you very much for those comments. We'll move.
Gordon,
Yes, go ahead.
May I just make a comment? I just want to remind councillors that council has attended at Inglewood at the invitation of the community. So we would certainly wait for their invitation if they're going to be issuing it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is new business, and 7.1 is the reorganization of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. And I believe that Councillor Morrison will speak to that, and he did circulate some material. Go ahead, Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. On page 18, you'll find the email, which you all received. If you go right to the bottom, I would like to say it should read, I would ask that we allow more than our normal 10 minutes. Everyone has read this. Everyone understands it, I think, and you've seen the presentation that was delivered. And I would like to move that a letter be sent to the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities asking that a representative attend a council meeting to explain and accept comments and answer questions concerning the proposed reorganization of NSFM. Thank you.
Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor Longmire seconds. And as Councillor Morrison set out, his recommendation is set out in the email that's found at page 18 of 148. I did attend that discussion, which was fairly brief. And the slides that Councillor Morrison has appended to the email were shown at the meeting, and really not too much more discussion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Councilor Morrison. The next is 7.2. The Annapolis County Accessibility Plan. Deputy Warden, would you like to read that recommendation?
Yes, sir. Recommendation report 7.2. Recommendation report draft Annapolis County Accessibility Plan. That municipal council approve the Annapolis County Accessibility Plan for submission to the province of Nova Scotia in March 2022.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Redden seconds. Discussion? Councilor Connell?
Yes, I'm fully supportive of this motion, and when you think about it, or when I think about it, I think we've gone over several items the last couple months at council, and this is why a strategic plan is so important. How we're going to go through with applying the accessibility plan, how much we're going to do each year, how much it's going to be costing the taxpayer. And to me, that's why we're in such a need of a strategic plan to move forward with items like this. So I'm looking forward for this to be put in place and see what we can accomplish over the next three and a half years or 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Morrison?
Thank you. A couple, maybe 3 years ago, I attended a meeting in Kentville, and Deborah Ryan was there as well, at which a representative of the province outlined the process. And since then, I think Annapolis County, Deborah Ryan, John Neal, and others have accomplished great things. This is a very good report, and I would like to think it will be received with great enthusiasm by the province. I have one main comment, and that concerns page 7 of the document, where it talks about the vision of the accessibility plan, where the rights, dignity, and independence of all persons are valued. A place free of racism and prejudice, etc. And I'm not sure if we can put in there somewhere, or at least bear in mind, we also want a place that is free of gender discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Covered.
Councilor Sheridan?
I just want to say thank you to the committee, John Smith and Deborah Ryan, and all the people that helped create this plan. It's an excellent plan. I know there was a lot of work involved, so I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc?
Thank you. The same here. I'd like to say thank you to the committee. They've done a lot of work in a short amount of time, and I'm sure it was consistent as we went along of diligent work. As Councillor Morrison pointed out, it would be nice if we changed the is to are in valued in the vision before we send it to the province. And also the comment on the bottom on page 7, which under the vision says, the county is committed to meeting the needs of individuals who face barriers to accessibility in our communities. And that it does open up a lot of what, and I'm not quite sure how far that takes the county, and to having any control over the businesses or personal areas that are owned privately. I'm not quite sure how that works, or if it should be there. I know I totally agree with the comment. However, I'm wondering if we would be looking at it differently in this different sentence by moving forward the needs or something, because we certainly have to find a lot of we have a lot of different areas that have to be worked on, which I agree. So that strategic plan that we have to get going will certainly indicate where and what places should be indicated first to help accessibility in our county. And we should start to see where we should start, I guess, is what the question is, a priority list of where we should start. Anyway, thank you very much to the committee for doing such work. And maybe we could do that correction in the vision.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson?
Yes, just adding to the comments that Councillor Connell has made and Councillor LeBlanc. Should we, or is the committee going to provide us with an action plan with respect to this policy that we're going to adopt, or this plan that we're going to adopt? And was it intended that an action plan be attached to this plan that we were going to submit to the province?
I don't know.
I look at it this way, is that, again, picking up on other comments, we can only tackle so much at one time. And I think we have to have some kind of a definite plan, and I'll call it an action plan, to address those type of things. Take the most important first and, and work through the list. We can't have we can only look after so much at one time, I guess is what I'm saying. And that we have to define, what those are, and proceed accordingly.
My understanding, Councillor Hudson, is that councils in the future would make those determinations on the process, but I'll ask Mr. Dick if he can provide any further explanation as to, assuming we adopt the plan, what the process will be to institute it.
Actually, if I may let Deborah respond to the question.
Sure.
Okay, I will. On section 6, which is plan implementation in regard to the accessibility plan, it outlines that it is council and the CEO's responsibility for the implementation. So as in any year plans, when we do our budgets and what have you, we actually outline all service groups outline priorities, and it would be the same process that you would follow in that regard. In addition to, there are some very specific types of things that can be accomplished this year, like the Accessibility Committee has already identified a number of things that don't really cost a lot of money, but actually should be delivered. So they will be outlining a number of things that are in this plan, including outlining a training program for staff and volunteers, and make those recommendations forward, and a few other things in terms of promotion on Facebook, in terms of the plan itself and what have you. So we have one of the next meetings, we're going to address certain things at the Accessibility Committee. This meets the criteria of the province, and then again, that implementation will be through yearly budgets. And that's more of your action plan in terms of what we call operationalizing any plan.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Ryan. Other comments, questions? Councillor Longmire?
Thank you. I would as well like to say a huge thanks to Deborah Ryan and the committee. It was an excellent report. The one thing I did take away from this, and I'm always learning so much around accessibility as I've been speaking with several citizens, the one big point that I really recognized was the focus on the non-visible disability, and how oftentimes we make assumptions that we know what a disability looks like, And so that was something I will definitely be focusing on in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe I saw another hand up somewhere.
You did.
Deputy Warden.
Thank you. And I want to be kind about this, but I do have a question. So, and if I can read this statement we've made, we envision Annapolis County as a place where the rights, dignity, independence of all persons is valued. A place free of racism and prejudice, where both visible and invisible disabilities are respected. A place where all persons have access to community facilities, programs, services to live, work, and play and experience their full potential. I heard earlier that we must be inclusive in this statement as to a person's sexuality, as chosen sexuality. And my question to that would be, and it just correct me if I'm wrong, are we assuming that as persons are, is there the suggestion that a person's chosen sexuality is a disability? That's what I'm wondering here, because we are going on with accessibility. And we've gone through all of this with accessibility, making sure that, you know, washrooms and one thing and another are LGBTQ friendly. But I'm just wondering how that would be placed in there. That's my only question. Thank you.
Ms. Ryan, can you respond to that?
Yes, and John Smith may want to weigh in on this one as well. We've discussed that as a committee, and we also realize in Bill 59, under that was created within the province, it is very inclusive of gender as well. So if you as a council want to include that, that would be fine. That would probably take another motion to include part of the vision, and we may or may not have missed that. So, John.
Well, I think thank you, Deborah.
I
think in the concept of.
Excuse me, Mr. Smith.
Oh, sorry.
It's really for me to recognize.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's really for me.
That's my fault. Sorry about John.
And we really, I appreciate the work that you've done and the fact that you're the chair of the committee, but it's not usual that members of the public speak at council meetings. However, if you have a very succinct comment with respect to this issue, we would be pleased to hear you.
On a point of order, please.
Yes, Councilor Morrison.
I believe, Warden, the process that we have practiced is that members of the public normally don't speak. But if a member of council moves that we ask a member of the public to speak, then we vote on it. And I would like to move that we ask Mr. Smith to speak.
So moved, seconded by Councilor LeBlanc, I take it. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Mr. Smith, you're now formally approved to make your comments.
Thank you, Warden. I think the lens we used for this report was a universal design. So going back to the points of Councilor Morrison and Councilor Gunn, you know, when we talk about washrooms, we're looking at a universal washroom that would be gender inclusive as well. So I think that answers the question that you were talking about, but this is where it was included as everyone has a right to feel free to use the services and be welcome in the community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Anybody else that hasn't spoken yet? Councilor Redden?
Just that we might not want to refer to gender and sexuality as a choice. I think most people would say that it's not a choice, that it is a fact, a piece of who somebody is. And that. I don't think it fits with disabilities, but I believe the way it was phrased by Councillor Morrison earlier is something we should keep in mind when discussing racism and prejudice. That's
Thank you. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I might explain the basis of my remarks. I have heard recently in some places where folks have made statements regarding gender and have moved to exclude persons of certain genders from certain activities. And that's why I made the comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments with respect to the motion on the floor from the councillors? Mr. Smith, you really, for me to, I think I need to have another motion for you to speak again. I think that's where we are. I see Mr. Smith had his hand up. If some councillor wants to move that we hear from him further, I don't know what he intends to say. Councillor Sheridan?
I'll make a motion to allow Mr. Smith to speak.
Okay, and Councillor LeBlanc, are you seconding that? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I do apologize for interjecting again. I just wanted to point out that another part of this lens we looked at was in the policies of language and looking for no he or she, but the terminology of they through your policies. So you know there was a gender accessibility lens that was applied to how we looked at everything as well, along with the universal design policy. But I just wanted to throw that in, that it wasn't ignored. It was looked at from that level as well.
Thank you very much. Any other comments with respect to the motion on the floor? I don't see any as I look on the Zoom screens. So I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Bridgetown area community rate. And I'd like to deal with this. I'd like to get the view of council on how you want to deal with this. This has come up as a result of committee of the whole meeting that we discussed this issue in some detail. And at that committee of the whole meeting, it was decided by council that they would not decide the matter at that point, but would put it off pending a report from staff and also to allow councilors to speak to their residents about the Bridgetown community rate. So this matter has now come back on our agenda. And the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to get the view of council as to whether you're ready to deal with this and make a decision today, which would be then used to determine the budget, or whether you'd like to have more time and deal with it at the next council meeting or at a special council meeting. So what I'd like to do is just get a sense from councilors if you want to deal with this with some finality today. And so what I would ask, if you do want to deal with this today, put your hand up. If you'd rather put it off until another special meeting of council or the next council meeting, put your hand up. It looks, just a minute, keep your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I see 9. So the view is that the council doesn't want to make a decision today on this. Do we want to have another special council meeting to put this to bed? Or do we want to deal with it at the next council meeting? That's the next question I'll put to council. I see there's some hands up. Councillor Connell, what do you want to say?
Well, I think that in my mind, we're still missing information. There has been other municipalities across our province that's amalgamated. And I'd like to know if there's special area rates for towns or areas within those other amalgamations that pay an area rate. Because I know that you've talked several times on fairness, and you keep telling us that that's your approach, that you want to be fair. And when you speak of fairness, Lawrencetown pays an area rate of 66.
Councillor Connell, I'd rather not get into the debate at this point in time.
Okay, but I would like to have those answers. If we're going to have another meeting, we need more information. It's always been more expensive to live in a town. So
Yeah,
I'd like to know if other areas are charging an area rate.
I think that's a good point, and I think that the one reason to not decide today would be to allow you, Councillor Connell, and any other councillors that want to get more information before we decide this, either directly yourself or going through the staff. Mr. Dick, with your question, Councillor Connell, I would suggest you speak to Mr. Dick about it and see if he can find out the answer for you through staff. In the meantime, pending our meeting to decide this. There were some other questions. I think I saw some other hands up. Councillor Sheridan.
So because this could take some time and it could be a long meeting, and I know we've got budget season coming up, is this something that we could put off until after budget? Just it is going to take some time, because I do have a lot of questions, as well as Councillor Connell, in regards to fairness. I've had some phone calls because of our conversations on Zoom that, again, I won't get into it, but some of our residents that aren't in the town do not think it's fair to stop the community rate. So I know there's going to be a lot more questions. It's going to be time consuming, and I'm just asking maybe through you, Warden, the CAO's view on putting this off maybe till after budget deliberations.
I think that question was put to Mr. Dick last time, and his view was that we should deal with it so that he can institute the decision into the budget process for this upcoming year. Is that right, Mr. Dick? Yes.
Okay, then I will look forward to the next meeting.
Councillor Prout, on the issue of next step.
A couple of points really quickly. I thank the CAO for the report. I'm concerned, as Councillor Sheridan, with the section on financial implications. And I'd like to see us, I read the alternative options. I find it problematic, as I'm sure others do, that while I'd like to see I'm okay with the rate coming down in Bridgetown as things come off the books and so on, but to see that done away with and the rates to go up in the rest of the county who don't in fact have those services, that's very
Warden, I'm sorry if I can inject right here. There really shouldn't be discussion on the content if you're discussing right now.
I was about to make that point, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
I
look forward to more information, I guess.
Okay, I think where we are now is that in order that we have this decision made so that it can be used in the budgeting process, which is coming up this spring, either we should have whether we should have a special council meeting and put this to bed and dedicate a whole meeting to this issue, which would give time for any of you that have any questions about the report from staff. I will tell you, I raised some questions with Mr. Dick after I received it, and he responded, which I appreciated. And I urge all of you to do the same in the meantime between now and the next meeting. So the only question to me is whether we deal with this at a special council meeting, sometime I'll say next month, or whether we deal with it at the regular council meeting next month. Mr. Dick, do you have a view on that, whether we deal with this at a special meeting or at the regular meeting?
I was quite frankly hoping it would be dealt with today. But I will caution council in terms of the timing. If you want to address this issue, we have to do it for this year's budget. I will say that the presentation that was made is a philosophical discussion and not to get tied down on the specific numbers. Those are based on previous year's data, not current data, other than the debt. We know what the debt is. So just be cautious about wasting, I shouldn't say wasting, taking too much time to make a deliberation on this. Because as we all know, is last year's budget was incorrect in terms of what we were charging Bridgetown. Certainly there was no recognition of the fact that costs have not been, I guess, audited for years 2015 through current time. So I just want to caution you that the numbers that we've got in our previous budgets, I will say unequivocally, are not correct numbers. So just be cautious about that. It's the philosophy that I'm looking at council's direction on. Whether you want to leave them the way the rates the way they were, that's fine. If you want to take some off, that's fine. Whether you want to have zero, there's all kinds of opportunities to interject your personal thoughts and views along with your constituents. But I would prefer to do it sooner than later.
My sense after hearing that is, and I'm getting the feeling around the table that a lot of councillors have a lot of strong views on this, on various directions. And I think in order to be fair to all the residents of the county, we should have a special council meeting sometime, I'm going to say in early March, give everybody time to ask questions of staff if they have any, and let's deal with it. Is that okay with everybody? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. So I just one more time to say, get it set in my own head. Bridgetown will have a community rate of some sort.
Deputy Warden, no,
I'm not going down it. I'm just trying to get it straight in my own head, Ward, what we're trying to decide here.
No, all we're deciding is when we're going to deal with the issue. That's it.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Nothing to say then.
So I'm suggesting sometime in early March. Councillor LeBlanc?
Yes, thank you. I agree that we should have it sometimes in early March, if that's what you're looking for. But I would like to suggest one thing. Maybe the questions that will be sent to our CAO, David Dick, maybe his answers should go to all councillors, so we do not repeat the same thing over again. Or if information that he has given to one gets to all of us, that would be, to me, quite important. So that we not one person ask. Pardon?
I don't know if we can necessarily, I think we can suggest it to Mr. Dick, but I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
So that we all are on the same
yeah,
page when we're
I agree.
discussing.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Councillor Redden?
To scheduling, I like the special meeting aspect, although I would suggest the end of February. COTW next month is on the 8th, the same as it was this month. And so if we have it early March, we're running into the planning and setup phase for the regular committee of the whole. That is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give councillors time to think about this further and ask questions. So I'm not wedded to any time. Madam Clerk, Mr. Dick, can you help us out? You're the ones mostly running the bus here about what would be a convenient time for a special meeting.
Before Carolyn jumps in, from a staff's perspective, I'm indifferent as to when council would like to do this. But again, as the warden said, it's really council that's driving the bus on this one, not staff. Council's got to give us their direction as to what they want to do, and then council or staff will implement ultimately what council's decision is.
I hear what Councillor Redden said. Perhaps if we have, was it the 8th you said is our meeting? So maybe the 1st of March, the Tuesday before, so that we're done, and then we can pay attention to the committee of the whole and pay attention to the council. How about the 1st of March? I'm getting some nods around I see a thumbs up. Councillor Connell's nodding. So I think we'll take it that there's a consensus of council that we'll have a special council meeting, and it'll be a council meeting, not committee of the whole, so we can make a decision. Madam Clerk, it would start at 10, I take it, would it?
Council
Rather than
normally
9?
starts at 10, yes.
Since that's the only item on the agenda, we should be able to get it done pretty easily that day. And I will, so let's assume then we're going to move ahead on the 1st of March, Tuesday, March 1st. I want to say something else about the process. And of course, the process will be in the hands of the council. I'm trying to be as fair as I can that everybody gets their say. But what I had in mind, we essentially have 7 options now. We have the 4 that were distributed some time ago and were debated at the committee of the whole meeting. We have eliminated completely at one end of the spectrum, and we have don't change it at all at the other end of the spectrum. So that's 6 options. And the report that we just received from staff is a 7th option. So what I would intend to do, and we don't have to decide today, but I thought I'd tell you what my intention would be as chair. In order that we don't have a motion on the floor and then spend a series of amendments to try to get to some kind of a result after probably 5 or 6 different attempts at amendments on something on the table. My intention would be there are 7 options. I would start with District 1, and I would ask every councillor, if they want to give their position as to which of the 7 options they would support. And we go through all the councillors, and then when all the councillors are finished, I would ask Mr. Dick what, if there's anything he would want to say, although he just said councillors are driving the bus, he doesn't have to say anything, but I would invite him to comment. I would then ask all of the councillors, I would start over again at District 1 and ask each of the councillors if they wish to respond to anything that any of the other councillors had said. Not to repeat what they said the first time, but to respond to anything any of the other councillors said. After we finish that exercise, then there's 7 options on the table. I would have a vote of all the councillors as to which of the 7 options they prefer. If there wasn't 6 favoring one of the options, then the option, those who voted for an option at the bottom of the pile would drop off, and we'd have another vote on the remaining 6 or 5 until we get to an option that has the support of the majority of councillors. To me, that's the most equitable and fair way to reach a conclusion on this issue. Mr. Dick?
Thank you for that, Mr. Warden. My only cautionary advice might be over the next week or 2 weeks, council is going to be providing comments. So those 7 options that you might be referring to might become multiply higher than 7. Or it may be reduced. There might be some general comments that might say that there are only 3 or 4 options that are available. So I like the process. I would suggest let's not say it's 7 because it could be a different number than 7.
Sure, I'm happy if there seems to be another option, but I'm just trying to avoid, I want to make sure everybody has their say. The idea of debating amendments to a complicated deal, just we could get right off track and spend 2 days trying to do it and end up with something that we don't like. But hey, I'm just telling you what I think at the moment. Council will decide when we reconvene as to how they want to deal with it. I'll put the process to council again, and council will decide how we're going to deal with this. Thank you. So next, let me see where we are.
So Warden, can there be a motion to table next item discussed yet, to table that to the special session?
Would it be table or adjourn?
Table. You can table it to a specific
time frame. Yes.
Refer it, please.
Tabling it gives us a specific date as to when we want to bring it back.
Yes. That's
Okay.
what I was getting at.
So I'll entertain a motion to table this until March the 1st at 10 o'clock.
So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Connell. Further discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Mr. Dick?
No, sorry, it's not a question. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Just I would encourage council to send their questions or call either by voice or by email well in advance so staff can apply appropriate responses to your questions.
Thank you. The motion is to table and until March the 1st at 10. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay.
7.4.
Yes, 7.4, yeah.
Recommendation report, demolition of former Upper Clements Park site. Award of contract. That municipal council award the contract for the RFP MCOA 2021-11-05, former amusement park site demolition and site cleanup, Upper Clements, Nova Scotia, to Dexter Construction Limited for a total value of $496,500 plus GST, and approve a contingency budget for general demolition and hazardous waste materials of $100,000 plus HST. Project budget total of $622,065.99, inclusive of HST rebate.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Longmire, oh, Councillor Morrison seconds. Were you seconding or did you want to speak? You're seconding? Yeah, seconded by Councillor Morrison. Discussion? Councillor Hudson?
Yes, thank you very much. I guess I would propose an amendment to that recommendation. And my amendment would be to, if you go through where it starts, and approve a contingency budget for general demolition and hazardous waste materials of $100,000 plus HST, I would remove that. And I think the motion should just read, we should stop right after the, for a total value of $496,500 plus HST. And I guess my reason for doing that is if you get somebody that's going to give you a tender something for something, you know, they should stick with that tender. I think adding at $100,000 is perhaps just opening the door for them to charge us an excess amount. Now, if something should come up.
Councillor Hudson, I wanted you to just give a brief explanation as to the purpose of the motion, but before you speak any further, I'd like to have a seconder to the.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
No. Is there a seconder to the amendment? Councillor Redden seconds it. So go ahead, Councillor Hudson.
No, I guess I was pretty well finished anyway. You know, I just think that, you know, someone should be held, you know, to the, you know, the quote that they provided. And that if there was an overrun, you know, that they should come back and we should approve that. Just tacking on $100,000, I don't think is the correct way to go. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I think I would like an explanation of why we put that in there, because I had it in the back of my head that that was not a fund on which the contractor could call. I wonder if we could have an explanation, please.
Mr. Dick, I saw your hand up in any event, so I think you're prepared to respond to that inquiry.
I am able to respond. I'll ask maybe Doug to speak to it first, and then if necessary, I'll add comments.
Thank you.
Certainly, yeah. It would be our intent to create a contract based on the contractor's bid. The contingency would be under the municipality's control, under the CAO's control, if money was needed to approve something unexpected including if we have costs to remove hazardous materials. But the contractor will not be upfront given that contingency budget. They will get a contract for the amount of their bid.
And if I may add, the contractors that we've awarded this to has not been able to provide us with a value for remediation of hazardous wastes. They haven't done their research on it, so we've estimated a dollar value for that at the high end. My expectations are we would never reach 100,000, but the three respondents did not even provide a bid for hazardous waste removal.
Before I get to you, Councillor Hudson, if there's anyone else that wants to speak, and then I'll let you close the debate on the amendment. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the amendment? Councillor Redden?
I'm just trying to compose my thoughts here, so bear with me. So our current RFP and contract has nothing in it for the disposal of asbestos or any possible hazardous waste that's there, or is this contingency for unknown sort of unknowns, like other hazardous material we may run into on the site that we haven't thought of, such as asbestos remediation?
Mr. Patterson, can you respond to that?
Yeah, the municipality has not done a study yet to verify if there is a significant or any amount of regulated hazardous materials there. That'll be part of what the contractor does. And once we have that full study done and we know if there are going to be any extra costs, that would be where the contingency would come into play. And it would be up to the municipality. The municipality would have the ability through how we word the contract to control what is done about the hazardous material.
If I could ask a question, Mr. Patterson, I'm assuming that the tender or the bid that we're talking about has an exclusion for hazardous waste or is conditional on a hazardous waste budget. It doesn't include hazardous waste. Is that correct?
That's correct. The quote and the quote we have does not include a budget for that because it's not yet known.
Thank you. Any other comments on the amendment? I don't see any other than Councillor Hudson. So Councillor Hudson, I'll let you close the debate on the amendment.
Yeah, I just want to bring something, a point forward, I guess. On page 75, under discussion, and you will see under hazardous material, the number 2 item. And in the second paragraph, it says feedback from 2 of the 3 finalist proposal, including Dexter proposal, included the view that there's not likely any hazardous materials there. So I guess what I'm saying there is Dexter's whether asked for in the bid or not, they have had a look at what might be there for hazardous material, and in their view, there's likely little or none.
I took it from just my recollection that it was because of the age of the buildings that they felt there was likely no asbestos, Councillor Hudson. And I see Mr.
That's correct.
Patterson agreeing, yeah. So I'm going to call for a vote on the amendment to remove the last part of the motion on the floor dealing with the contingency budget. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. No, I don't. I see 3 in favor of the amendment to remove the contingency. I see 3. Councillor Prout, what was which way are you voting? I can't hear you.
Thank you. I was taking Councillor Hudson's concerns into my thoughts, and
so are you voting?
We'll have to pay it anyway, but
I just want to know how you're voting.
I voted in favor of the amendment.
In favor of the amendment. All those opposed to the amendment, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 7-4, the amendment fails. Further discussion on the motion? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Hopefully. Well, thank you. Yeah, I believe that the contingency is going to be important. If we go down there and go through that property, you know, I know myself that there's a pile of creosote timber there that's 200 feet long, at least, and 4 or 5 feet tall. I
On
know.
a point of order, please.
Excuse me. There's hidden things down there.
Councilor Morrison?
Thank you. We ought not to be discussing the subject of an amendment to the motion that was defeated.
Okay. I believe that the deputy warden was concluded in any event, so I think we'll move along. Councilor Barto?
Generally in contracts up front, that's written into the terminology and the language of the contract, that every contractor has to add X amount for contingency. That doesn't mean that it's used or not. It's just so that it's into the budget.
I think Councilor Morrison's.
We are,
point-
no, we are
Councilor
putting,
Barto-
no, we are
Councilor
putting this
Barto,
in.
Councilor Barto, you have to, I'll let you, when I interrupt you, you have to let me make.
Yeah,
my-
okay, go ahead.
Okay. Councilor Morrison just raised the point that we've already decided that we are going to leave the contingency amount in the motion. And his point was that we shouldn't be continuing a discussion with respect to the contingency amount, and with which I agree. Now, having said that, if you're, since it's still in the motion, and you want to talk about something in the motion, please go right ahead, but not on the point of whether the contingency budget should be in there or not. Okay,
That was not my point.
fair enough. And please
Yeah,
proceed.
and I would like to proceed. Thank you. Maybe I can just ask the question to clarify that this is not labeled as part of the contract, that this is a secondary budget that is added by the CAO for this purpose, because it wasn't in the original contract and we cannot talk about it that way.
Is that
Correct.
a question, Mr. Patterson?
That's correct. The contingency budget would be controlled and approved by the CAO, if applicable.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Hudson?
Yes, just a note, the contingency is only 10%, right?
Looks like it's around that amount, yeah.
Yeah, which is not $100,000.
Oh, no, sorry, I did my math wrong. I guess it's 20%, is it? 100,000 on 500,000, it's 20%.
Now, again, on page 75, under discussion, it says 10% of bid value was recommended.
Well, that's an interesting point, yeah. Mr. Patterson or Mr. Dick, can you respond to that point?
It's a combination of a couple of factors, a general contingency that's typical of any construction project, and also having a contingency available for hazardous waste. So it ended up being a total of 100,000.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One opposition. The motion carries. Thank you very much, Council. Now we're going to the committee and organizational reports. 8.1.
Thank you. Special Committee of the Whole, January 25th, 2022. Future 8.1, future operation of Ravenhaven Beachside Family Park. That council authorized the CAO to prepare a long-term plan for future operation of Ravenhaven as a day use park commencing 2022-23.
Is there a seconder for that? Counselor Sheridan seconds. Discussion? Counselor Connell?
In our discussions, again, I think that this is a subject that should be on our strategic plan. Because it may, in my mind, I don't think we should lock it in for a long-term plan for just the use of a day park. I'm with Councillor Morrison on that's an important part of the community down there, and I think we should have lots of discussion on how we can improve it and what we can do to make it a full-fledged park. But I don't want to have it locked in that that's the only thing we're thinking about is just a day park forever. That's all.
Okay. Any other comments with respect to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
Committee of the Whole, 8.2, former Bridgetown Town Hall. That municipal council begin the process to register the former Bridgetown Town Hall as a municipal heritage property, and that the former town hall property not be sold until the registration process is completed in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Redden seconds. Discussion? Councillor Hudson?
Thank you very much. Again, with this motion, I would like to make an amendment. And I would suggest that the part that says, and that the former town hall property not be sold until the registration process is completed. I don't know why we wouldn't sell it prior to that designation being complete. If we received a really good offer, why would we hold off selling it? It's going to be sold with that designation one way or another, either before or after. If someone come along prior to the completion of the designation, could not that be covered off through the agreement of purchase and sale? That the purchaser agrees and accepts the fact that the property will be registered. I just think that putting that in there may
Councillor Hudson, we're doing the same thing again. If you have an amendment, your amendment is to remove the words that the former town hall property not be sold until the registration process is completed. I'd like to first determine if there's a seconder to your motion for the amendment, and then I'll allow you to speak to it. Is there a seconder for that motion for amendment? Councillor Connell seconds. Is there anything further you wish to say, Councillor Hudson?
No.
Okay. Councillor Connell?
I'm along the same lines as Councillor Hudson, and I'll explain why. In our report, it said that we still pay to heat that building. We're still paying maintenance on it. And if the community is not paying for that through their community rate, that means the base rate from every taxpayer is paying for keep that building afloat until we decide the day we sell it. But yet all the monies is to be kept in Bridgetown for the use of Bridgetown. So in my mind, if every taxpayer is paying the bill to foot that building, put it for sale tomorrow. Because I don't want to pay for something that's going to stay in the town of Bridgetown for them to have the benefits of it and use my tax dollars to pay the bills. Thank you.
If I could just respond to some of that. First of all, right now, the Bridgetown community rate is paying for the building, is my understanding, not all of the taxpayers. And that'll be the situation until the tax bills go out in June. The second comment I would make is that I would hope that the report could come back from the Heritage Advisory Committee, maybe even to the Committee of the Whole in March. Maybe that's being optimistic. I know that staff is working on a report at the moment. And thirdly, I'd like to say that if we sell the building without the registration complete, then the owner could immediately move to stop the process. And there would be nothing in the motion here to require council to require the purchaser to complete the process. I would think it's much easier to, if council's agreed to register it, I know that's the view of the community, they want it registered, to get that done quickly and then sell it. In the meantime, it's my understanding that the community rate is paying for it.
May I?
Councillor Barto?
Just maybe we can clean that up by saying in the terms of and conditions of the sale that would be carried through, and if they signed off on that in the sales agreement, then it wouldn't matter if we did it before the sale or whether it was just continued and carried through afterwards, if they've agreed to have that process continue and be completed.
So you're suggesting an amendment to the amendment?
Yes, I guess. I generally agree with the amendment, but I guess, as long as it stipulates that it's clear to me, and
Can we
it
do
probably
that,
is clear to
Madam
the rest of
Clerk?
you as
No.
well, that if the terms and conditions was laid out dictating that, then the purchaser would be signing off on that.
Yeah, I see. I'm looking at it again, and it's not an amendment to the amendment. It would require a separate amendment, I think. So I think the motion on the floor is to remove the words "and the former town-held property not be sold until the registration process is completed." Further discussion on the amendment on the floor. Councillor Redden?
I think I'm in the purview of the amendment here. From whenever any supposed deal goes through, we still have closing time, which is generally more than 30 days and quite frequently 90. Surely we can get a heritage status approved in 90 days, plus however long it takes for an offer to come in. I may be being very optimistic about the procedures, the speed at which government moves at, but one thought, I'm not strongly one way or the other as to the amendment, but.
Thank you. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. I am voting for the amendment. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councillor LeBlanc?
I also am voting for the amendment because it's putting a stop to a property that could be sold. Somebody might sweep in and just give you, make an offer that was like snippety snap over the budget and over the price, and away you go. And we've put a stipulation that causes grief. I think anybody that would be purchasing a building like this is because they love the heritage part of it. And to me, it's not something you're going to start taking down, because it's certainly is a beautiful building. And the insides, they can change it in any which way they want. So I will be voting for the amendment to take it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Dick?
Mr. Warden, I'm not sure that council's ever formally approved the sale of this property. I know when we talked about Bridgetown Elementary School, we did actually get an motion from council to sell it. Maybe what I can ask is that maybe it's sort of insinuated in the motion that's being made that it isn't sold until the heritage status, but maybe we could be more specific and say, yes, we do have the ability to sell it, then subject to whatever the conditions may be.
I don't know if I followed you, Mr. Dick, sorry.
Well, council hasn't given staff permission to sell the building yet.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering if we can get that permission to sell the building, subject to whatever conditions council agrees that they want to attach to that sale. So if it's a heritage status, then at least we understand that. But as it stands now, we have not listed the property for sale. And I know that CAO does have the ability to sell property, but I wouldn't sell this property without concurrence from council. So maybe it's just something more specific that staff needs, that we do have the ability to sell it, subject to whatever council decides.
Yeah, I think all of the councillors are operating under the assumption that the building is either for sale or going to be put up for sale.
Yeah, but we've never officially said that yet.
I think that if you want an official motion in that regard, that would have to be a separate official motion, I think.
And maybe it's in your motion, maybe it's inherent in your motion that it says can't be sold until the heritage status. So one would presume after heritage status, it can be sold. Maybe I'm making too much out of words or not enough out of words.
Good point.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments before I call for the vote on the amendment? Councillor Barto.
Just clarification. If we take that out, then it's only a motion about heritage status registration. And if we do that, then we can make a second motion about the sale of the building immediately if we have interest, which would be totally separate from this.
Yeah, we have to. It's not on the agenda to do that.
Yeah, so this isn't. Yeah, I just wanted to get rid of the cloud that's shadowing everything. Okay, I think I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote on the amendment. The amendment is to remove the words that the property not be sold until the registration process is completed. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed? 1, 2. 9 to 2, the amendment is approved. So the motion now reads that it'll stop after the word property in the second line. Basically, it's just a motion to begin the process to register it as a municipal heritage property. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Councillor Sheridan?
So regarding the registration, you mentioned a community group, community did not want to sell it. Is the community group going to be doing the registration, or is this something that staff is going to be doing?
Yeah, staff will be starting the process.
Okay, I wasn't aware, like, I know you'd mentioned the community were really interested in keeping this, so I didn't know if there was a community group that were going to do the application for the heritage.
No, after, if this motion passes, then the staff will prepare a report, bring it to the Heritage Advisory Committee, and they'll have a discussion about it and report to council, is my understanding.
Just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Yeah. Deputy Warden?
Thank you. And will we be making another motion to put this market, as our CAO suggested, on this building on the market? Will we need another motion after this to put this for sale, or will that be incumbent in the?
I have to tell you, like, I thought we had approved. I looked around the table here to see if other councillors were under the same impression that I am, that there was authority and staff to sell the building. I know there's an issue with respect to the parking lot. Maybe this should come on to formalize it at the next committee of the whole meeting. I'm just thinking out loud. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you. We have started to discuss something that is not inherent in this motion. What
You're right.
we should be discussing is whether or not we are going to begin the process to register it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're right. Agreed. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. And I think, Deputy Warden, if I could now, between matters, just address what you raised, and I think that I'll leave it to Mr. Dick and staff that if they feel they need authority to sell the building, they can bring it back at the next committee of the whole, and it can be discussed then.
Thank you.
Where are we? 8.3.
Oh, 8.3, St. Andrew's Church substantial alteration application. That municipal council approved the St. Andrew's Anglican Church application for substantial alteration to replace the amber window glass with clear glass, encouraging the applicant to retain some of the amber glass in the Gothic revival windows on the north and south side of the building as much as possible, pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Redden seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
8.4, intermunicipal emergency services agreement. That municipal council approve the intermunicipal emergency services agreement in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Second, is there a seconder? Councillor Connell seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
8.5, C6 Regional Emergency Management Bylaw. That municipal council give first reading to approve the C6 Regional Emergency Management Bylaw pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Sheridan seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
8.6, letter of request to minister responsible for emergency management. That municipal council approve forwarding the letter of request to minister responsible for emergency management, Honorable John Lohr, in accordance with recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Connell seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
8.7, Victoria Hamilton appointment. That municipal council appoint Victoria Hamilton as a development officer for the municipality of the County of Annapolis to administer the municipality's land use bylaws and subdivision bylaw pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor LeBlanc seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
8.8, Brendan Lamb appointment. That municipal council appoint Brendan Lamb as development officer for the municipality of the County of Annapolis to administer the municipality's land use bylaws and subdivision bylaw in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next.
8.9, municipally registered heritage property Clarence Community Hall application for substantial alterations. That municipal council refer the substantial alteration application to replace the roof and an exterior trim boards for the Clarence Community Hall, 3337 Clarence Road, to the Heritage Advisory Committee pursuant to the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
Is there a second for that? Councilor LeBlanc seconds. Discussion? Councilor Morrison?
Thank you. In reading this motion, it appears to me that the folks who asked for this have been twiddling their thumbs and will continue to do so for 2 months or maybe more. And I suggest whenever we get around to looking at policies, we may wish to consider giving the staff authority to act on community requests that are very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments with respect to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next,
8.10, request from Western Woodlot Services Cooperative that municipal council request a proposed operating plan from the Western Woodlot Services Cooperative with respect to an ecological management process of a 15-/20 hectare section in the Greywood site, PID 05091152, in accordance with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole.
is there a seconder for that? Councilor Prout seconds. Discussion? Councilor Redden?
I was just curious about this ecological management process and if it's, or even if there was discussion about where this was going. Is it moving to like purely building a like forest habitat, sort of in a restoring a Arcadian forest type thought, or is it towards maybe a sustainable woodlot harvest with an approved, there's a designation for woodlot, or was there even guidance or thoughts about which way that was this is going to go? That I don't know that I made myself very clear there.
I understood myself. I wonder if Deputy Warden, as the chair of the committee, could respond to your inquiry.
Well, through you, Mr. Warden, I'm trying to remember back the 4 or 5 years ago when this committee was first brought forward, was with the idea that we would use an ecological forestry model is what we wanted, what we had proposed for the county's land to be put in. Obviously, there will be some harvesting because spruce matures. And after this last ice storm, I'm sure that there's a lot of damage out there. So yes, and invasive species is another thing they will look at. We don't necessarily want those, but we'll have to wait as to what their proposal would be, because we've requested a proposal from them, and that's what it is. But it's all along an ecologically based forestry model. We want, yes, we'd like to see, this is a good chance, the Greywood property, of an Acadian modeled forest, because there are parts of that property, not the 15 to 20 hectare, I'm sure, piece that they're talking about with this PID number, but there are parts of the Greywood property that are down in hollows and one thing and another that nobody has forested in years and years and years and years and years, 50 years or more. It's not able to be got at through the years ago. So there is that aspect to it. But this piece that they're looking at, in order to get contractors to go in and do forestry, that's what they want to see, is these pieces that are in hard shape restored. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
If I could interject here, I think to some degree it does, but I think more importantly, the answer to Councillor Redden's question will come out when we see the proposed operating plan, which is what we're requesting at this point in time. And I'd like to just make a few comments if I could. I appreciate Councillor Redden's the question that he raised, because there's a difference between sustainable forestry or selective cutting. And, you know, sustainable could be, as he said, you know, trying to reestablish the Acadian forest. Whereas selective cutting, you're treating it as an income source, and you're creating a situation where you've got different age trees coming at being harvested at different times. And I think that the operating plan should make that clear. The other comment I'd like to make is I'm very excited myself about this project, whichever it is. I thought it was going to be a selective harvesting project, but we'll find out. I'd like to, not that I'm recommending it, but it would be interesting to see if we could find someone to create a video of the process that we approve, whatever that process might be, that we could put on our website to educate other members of our community, our forestry community, and what we're doing in that woodlot as either sustainable or selective harvesting for the benefit of the forest. That's basically what I wanted to say. Councillor LeBlanc?
So in this motion, we don't have either or, sustainable plan or the select harvesting. So should that be part of the motion as well? Or one of them be part of the motion, or being it's not clear?
Yeah, myself, I'd wait to see what the plan is, and then if we don't like it, we could say we'd go to the other, whatever it is of the two options. We could then perhaps say we want something different. It'd be my sense.
So basically, this motion will they will bring back to council the two options and why they picked one versus the other. Is that what we're saying?
I don't know if there'll be two options. It'll be a proposal, and it likely would be one option, would be my guess, but we'll have to wait to see it.
Okay.
Councillor Redden?
Yeah, I mostly wanted to clarify there. My two examples were, in my mind, kind of opposite ends of a spectrum, and I do anticipate the proposal would bring back a recommendation of some sort. And I was more curious about the conversation in the subcommittee and what, if anything, they had really related to the Western Woodlot Services Cooperative. And Deputy Warden's gun was reply was more than adequate. That was exactly what I was trying to figure out. I think the warden also clarified my points quite nicely. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Longmire?
Thank you. I too am extremely excited about this venture, and I guess I would say, you know, it's so important for us to look after our assets. We've seen so much of the challenge that we've seen around other aspects of business that has happened over the past few years. I'm wondering if there's a cost to us for that proposed operating plan that we have requested. And if so, do we know what that is? I had reached out to Deputy Warden, Deputy Gunn, and he had answered several questions that I had. Because I don't have a lot of background information when this committee was struck and the work that they were doing, it was hard to navigate where we're going. I totally understand the purpose in doing the work with asking for the operating plan. I'm just wondering, does it come with a cost?
My understanding is that the service provider in question volunteered to do it for free. Is that right, Deputy Warden?
That's my understanding, Warden, yes.
There was a letter presented to the Committee of the Whole meeting last week, in which that's the way I read it from Ms. Amaro, that she would do the operating plan free of charge. Councillor Barto, did I see your hand up?
Yes, you did. Thank you. I just have one question or clarification. A few times it's been mentioned that the proposal that we have requested, we haven't requested it yet. That's the point of this motion. But if it's not clear either way, and the question was, is this sustainable harvest or a Acadian type style? There's two different methods. If we ask them for their proposal, I think it would be unfair to them to come back afterwards and review it and say, no, we don't like that because it's not the selective harvest, it's a sustainable harvest. I think we should clarify that in what we're requesting from them up front, so that they're not going to waste their time doing this free work for us and have to go back at it again. That's my point.
I don't know how to respond to that, Councillor Barto, but I will say that my anticipation was that it was a select harvesting, because the second part of the report from the Forestry Committee was that any money recovered from the sale of the harvest be kept in a fund to be used in the future. So when I read that, I assumed that this was a select cutting type of operation that was contemplated by the committee. Yeah, that was my contemplation.
I was just responding to prior comments from councillors pointing out two different methods, and I was just wondering, are we going to, is that going to creep up again as a comment, or are we going to be happy with what they provide us for the report?
Fair enough. Councillor LeBlanc?
Yes, Mr. Warden, I found the letter right here, and of Patricia Amiro, and she says, first, I guess the first sentence says, I wanted to follow up with the quote that Kara provided to you in early December that she and I discussed before sending to you regarding the preparation of an operating plan for approximately 15 hectare of selection harvest at the Greywood woodlot. So does that clarify anything?
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Select cutting.
And then she goes on, and after a few lines, she said, so I'm thinking we should go ahead and prepare the operation plan / proposal for the 15 hectare at no charge, mostly to encourage getting some harvest work underway to ecological standard and to use as a demo.
Right. Thank you.
That must clarify what we are looking for.
Thank you. Before I go to you, Deputy Warden, I wonder if there's anybody else that would like to speak with respect to this matter on the agenda. I don't see anyone, so Deputy Warden, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you. There shouldn't be a cost to the municipality for this that we're getting done in this forestry operation. The other thing that I've heard through the line is that staff is worried about the extra work for staff on this. I really don't see staff, our county staff, being involved in this. All of these operators that will be going on through the Western Woodlot Forest Cooperative, anybody that they're all completely certified. They would all be certified. They're all covered by workers' compensation. They all have their rules that they follow by, which are certified by the government. As far as it goes with the following up on this, they're putting a proposal towards us, for us, together on this 15 or 20 hectares of land. When they go in, they know what's there. They know what's going to come off of that property. That's a given. Within 1,000 feet, they know. That's what we will be, our benefits will come from based on what they give us. The last thing we're going to ever need is county staff out there being involved in this. There's no need of it. I can't imagine why county staff would ever go out there other than to get a picture taken, a photo op, or whatever. That's the only reason I can see them there. This is almost all self-regulating, how this should work. It should be a very easy gig, folks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Morrison.
Thank you. I must admit, I can't imagine a proposal of this degree of substance coming directly to committee of the whole without any examination by staff. I would also say that if we receive a proposal which we like and we approve this, it is incumbent upon us somehow, and I don't see councillors doing this, to ensure, as is done with all other contracts we award, to ensure that the work is being carried out in accordance with the terms of the contract. So I do see some involvement in this process, and I welcome it from the CAO. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, Councillor Connell?
Yeah, just a comment that I'm looking forward to it too, because I've been a firm believer for many years that we should be leading by example. And we have got some major blocks of forestry all around our county. And it's great to grumble that there's parcels of land that nobody's doing anything with. But if we're doing the same thing, we should kind of lead by example. And my big thing is that after the ice storm a week ago, you can drive down most any road and you don't have to go in the forest to see it. The pine trees took a beating. When you go travel down the roads, multiple big pine trees, the branches got broke off of them and stuff. So I can only imagine what it's like when you get right into the depth of the forest, that there is a lot of cleanup that needs to be done. It helps with less forest fires. So I'm looking forward and looking forward to the proposal. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't see anybody else, so I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you for that. Now we go to the annual reports, and I've spoken to the clerk, and with her approval, because I always seek her approval, we can entertain one motion to receive all of these reports for information, and then invite any councillor to raise any questions about any of the reports, which is the way I would like to deal with it. So if that's all right with council, I'll invite a motion to receive for information all of these reports set out in the agenda. Moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by the Deputy Warden. So we've all read them. Wonderful reports, all the work that's been going on that to some degree the county has contributed to. I invite any comments about any of the reports. Councillor Connell?
Yeah, so I'd just like to mention the fact is that you can sure see the not damaging, but the constant troubles that a lot of our societies and our committees through our county have endured since the COVID. It's been very hard to fundraise. They've thought outside the box in some areas. And it's glad to get the reports to see what each group is doing and trying to do, and how much is being done in our county. So I was very pleased with the reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire.
Thank you. And equally so, that which Councillor Connell just said, I felt the very same way. COVID has presented so many challenges to so many groups, organizations, businesses, and other. It's beyond challenging. We can't even imagine unless we own or are part of any of those. I know that it's going to look different in the future, and as I was reading all of the reports, I was drawn to the feeling that I got was of positivity, and that moving forward, they are prepared, on all levels to do so. So I was really impressed. Thank you.
Councillor Morrison, did I see your hand up? Yeah.
Yes, I have comments initially on two reports. One is that of the Annapolis Basin Conference Center, and I commend to you, my colleagues, a very close reading of the wording, some of which is very diplomatic. And first of all, it's unclear the extent of military involvement with ABCC in future years. However, as is stated here by Beth Earl, the CEO of ABCC, there is a provision in the contract for an option year, and that means that DND will pay ABCC for various services. I've known Beth Earl for a long time, and she is someone who is always active, trying to secure more additional business for this very valuable county asset. Thank you. The second one concerns the report of the VON. I'm a VON baby, and I am constantly, day by day, thankful for the care I received from the VON. It's a very good organization, and I wish it every continued success. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Prout.
Thank you. I'm looking at the TCTS report on page 128. I read it with interest. I was familiar with most of it before I saw it, and I think it's a good sort of an addendum to the presentation that we received at the last meeting, and it may answer some questions. It certainly demonstrates, and I've received some emails about of support from folks who are hopeful that we can continue to provide the level of support and perhaps go a bit beyond for them. So I thought it was an overall a great report from the General Manager, Nicole Hackett-Smith. So thank you.
Other comments with respect to these reports? Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, thank you. I have two. I've read them all, and of course they're all interesting, and they come up with different plans to try to make money during these times of COVID and not being able to do what they regularly do. But on page 85, for the Annapolis County Ground Search and Rescue, it shows their way. They've been trying to make money, and they're having different what do they call it? The Project Lifesaver that they're trying to make money for, and they're doing through that, and they're raising money by selling. What is it? It's like every week, or I don't know if it's every month, a package online with sales for first aid supplies. And it's our online storm raffle with a prize of, this is on page 86, last paragraph, with the price of a 72-hour emergency kit. Radio, water, storm chips have become quite popular in the county. So that's really good to see that they're, working away at doing these kinds of things to try to raise funds. The other one is on page 79, which is the Annapolis County 4-H Council. And reading it through, it shows what they've been trying to go forward with their demonstrations, their speeches, and etc. And the first paragraph, the last sentence says, "We were thrilled to have our county ambassador, Brianna Hilt, move on and win to become the 4-H ambassador for Nova Scotia." So I think that that is certainly an accomplishment, and maybe it would be a great thing for our council to send her a letter of an acknowledgement for this position that she's gained to represent Nova Scotia from our county. So I move that we write a letter acknowledging this to Miss Brianna Hilt and congratulating her on such an accomplishment.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Longmire. Further discussion on that motion to send the letter? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Any other comments about the reports? Councillor Prout.
Thank you. Just a brief one to tag on to Councillor LeBlanc's comments about the Annapolis County Ground Search and Rescue. If you have anyone who who is a member of that group, you'll often see on their Facebook feed a picture of this package with the 72-hour kit and all the things that go with it, and the dinner for two, which includes a can of Spam, tongue-in-cheek, and so on. Anyway, it's a great thing that they do, and I commend them for using it as a way to raise funds. So I didn't win, by the way. My sister-in-law, who's a member of that group, got me a couple of tickets. I was not the winner, but
no spam for you.
No spam for me. Anyway, I think it's great that they're doing it. Thank you.
Anybody else with respect to any of these reports? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. My last one has to deal with the Annapolis Valley Regional Library report that begins on 106. It has proved, the Valley Board and staff have proved to be as agile as some of those gymnasts we see in various Olympic competitions. They've rolled with the punches, have served as distribution sites for testing kits, etc. Anne Marie Mathieu, the Chief Executive Officer of the Annapolis Valley Regional Library, is leaving at the end of May. I'm a member of the committee charged with finding a replacement. And in the interim, the board has approved an interim measure to get us from the end of May until we select a new CEO. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote to receive these reports for information. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, there's correspondence. There's a letter in the package, and our packages are public. It's a letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing addressed to me as warden, and it deals with the housing crisis and affordable housing in the province. Are there any questions arising out of that correspondence? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I'm very disappointed that it's taken 2 months for a minister to reply to a letter from our warden. Thank you.
Councillor Sheridan.
Just to put a positive spin on this, I did read in the All of Nova Scotia yesterday where they are going to be hiring a consultant to go around to all the municipalities to check out the housing needs in each municipality. So that is a positive spin. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Councillor Hudson?
Yes, thank you very much. I would just suggest that maybe everyone should have a look at Housing Nova Scotia. They have a website set up that deals with housing within the province. I have gone through it, and it's a very interesting. It outlines the funding that they have available and things like that. So it might be interesting for you all to have a look at that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any comments with respect to this letter? Seeing none, we'll move ahead. There are no in-camera matters to be dealt with today. Before I call for a motion to adjourn the meeting, is there any other comment that somebody wants to raise? Anything before we head off? Seeing none, I do notice that the adjournment is until the next regular meeting. Maybe that should be changed now to our special meeting for Tuesday, March the 1st. Madam Clerk, would that be correct, or should it be the regular?
You're adjourning your regular meeting until the next regular meeting. The special one will come up,
All right.
of course.
Deputy Warden, do you want to move the adjournment then, the way it's worded? You're muted, Deputy Warden.
Grant. Yes. 9.1, no, it's not even that. Adjournment. 11, the adjournment that municipal council adjourn its session until the next regular meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 15th, 2022.
And a second? Councillor Sheridan seconds. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, councillors and staff.